Well,
So I'm not
I
mad.
think
I wouldn't be mad.
luckily we have somebody here who can help us solve all these questions we have. And he's
Let's
a good
go,
friend
baby.
of ours. And of course, he covers the Detroit Pistons. He covers the Lions. He does everything for MLive. That's our good friend, Kory Woods. Kory, welcome to the show.
What's going on? What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're good, Kory. I want to say,
great.
number one, we appreciate you. Kory, of course, like I said, covers Pistons Lions for MLive. Kory, how you feeling tonight?
Tired. I got a 1-year-old, so it's kicking my butt, but it's all good.
Yeah, we need like a mental health checkup on you, man. You go from the Lions, the NFC Championship game, and then you go right over to what the Pistons are at this point.
Yeah, that was definitely a drastic change. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, and we're happy to have you. Obviously, we're breaking down Lions offseason with Kory. And Kory, I want to ask you kind of what we've been talking about, and I think you'd be the perfect person to ask this. Is what kind of, in your opinion, knowing and being around Brad, being in the building, what kind of offseason do you see Brad Holmes doing, or the Lions doing, but with Brad Holmes? Because we talk about splash signings. The cap just went up $30 million. Which direction do you think Brad goes, right? Short term, smart contracts to improve this football team, or do you think he goes out and maybe gets a big fish?
You know, that's interesting that you asked that question. I honestly am not sure, and here's why. We've seen Brad go ahead and make like the small, sensible signings. Like you saw they got Cam Sutton last year on the 3 year, 33, he was 3 years, $33 million deal. The Emmanuel Mosley signing, it made sense. That was almost like a prove-it deal. Same thing with CJ Gardner-Johnson. But what you did see though is this team was pretty devoid of two of those pieces. With Mosley was gone and with the CJ Gardner gone for most of the year. So what I'm saying is like those guys were gone and you were still able to make a team that was good enough to make the NFC Championship. And now that they were 2 quarters away from making it, I think that they might go out and make a splash this year instead of just trying to do another Band-Aid type thing. I think that's what you saw last year. They're just trying to make the best out of what was available. But now I think with them knowing that they were just 2 quarters away from reaching the franchise's first Super Bowl, I think they're going to try to make some type of splash signing. I don't know what the Panthers are going to do about Brian Burns. I know he's asking for about $30 million a year. I'm pretty sure they might franchise tag him if they could do that. But I mean, I think they're going to spend some money.
Oh, okay.
I like to hear that, Kory, man. Hey, nice to see you. I don't know if we've ever actually met, but it's good to meet you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Question I had here, and I've been talking about this for a few months now, is kind of this long-term thing here with the Lions and Brad Holmes. It feels like they're building something different, like the 49ers, like something more long-term than just like a short-term. Do you see, and you're in the building all the time, so I'm sure you gotta have a pretty good feel on it. Do you feel like this is something that could kind of withstand and last for the next 5, 6, 7 years? Or is this something that's like, hey, like we need a Super Bowl next year, or the time's done? Is this like a long-term thing here going on in Detroit?
I think what you're seeing right now is something that is going to be sustainable for the next couple of years. I mean, first off, you have to look at how they built this thing. It started at 3-13-1, then you go to 9-8, then you go to 12-5, and you're getting these guys to the NFC Championship again, 2 quarters away from the Lions reaching their first Super Bowl. And I think that is because by hook or crook, whatever you want to say about the way they've built this team, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have been, along with Mike Disner and Chris Spielman and Sheila Hamp, they've been really intentional about this culture thing. And you've seen it work. So to go from what they had with Matt Patricia and the culture there was just totally bad. I think they've gone in a real overcorrection by how they're trying to do things by focusing more on the culture as opposed to trying to go out there and make some home run moves to get some guys that maybe have the talent but don't fit the culture. I think they've been really going ho in this culture fit because it has to have some type of foundation to be, to what you said, long-term and sustainable. Now that you have this foundation built, you may be able to go out there and start making some of those home run moves to be able to absolve guys into the culture that you've already built. It was still kind of, I don't want to say it was shaky, but you only had 2 seasons of it. You needed to go ahead and get that 3rd season of it. And now you got that 3rd season of it by showing, hey, the Lions can be a place that I can go to and win. Free agents are going to be able to say that now because when have you ever seen a Lions team in your lifetime look like this? A lot of people have it. So I think that was really intentional. I think it was really important how they set the culture, and I think it's going to be something long term now that they have some type of base and foundation to be able to sell.
I like
Yeah,
that.
Kory, and I
love
agree
that.
with what a lot you just said. And you brought up the foundation. It's nice finally meeting you. But a huge part of
Likewise.
this foundation, especially going forward, is the rookies that they brought in this year, the Sam Laportas, the Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. Which one of those rookies do you think really takes a next step next season and really helps the Lions kind of be able to reach to the exact point that they want to get to?
I think the one guy you want to take that next step is Jack Campbell. I mean, you've already seen what Jahmyr Gibbs can do, 1,000 yards from scrimmage in this year. Sam Laporta, all pro. I mean, it's only going up for those two guys. So
Right.
I think the guy you want to take that next step is Jack Campbell. He did end the season with second in tackles for the team, so that was good. You start to see him come along. Aaron Glenn talks glowingly about him, about how he's kind of like a surly guy, like he takes himself real seriously, but it's because he's all about the game of football. So I think that's the guy that people should want to see take that next step as far as just an all-around player, his defensive IQ and attention to detail.
Kory, thanks for joining us. Nice talking to you, man. Catching up. Obviously, Josh Reynolds had a somewhat solid season, pretty solid. Him, Goff, their chemistry together. What are the chances, do you think, they bring Josh Reynolds back? And if not, what do they do to fill that vacancy?
I think that they are probably going to look and see what the free agent landscape is like. But I think you want to bring a guy like Josh Reynolds back. For one, he has the continuity with Jared Goff from their time with the Rams now to here. Granted, it was not his greatest showing in the NFC Championship, but he had, if I'm not mistaken, this is what his career best year, or it's either his career best year or second best year. I know that towards the end he was trending towards it. And Josh Reynolds is a big part of the reason of the Lions' success this year. He has made a lot of clutch plays for this team, and that is a guy that Dan Campbell also really speaks highly of for his work ethic, for his attention to detail, how he comes and prepares himself. So I think that he's a guy that they might bring back, but they're also going to look at the free agent landscape to see if there is a way they can improve, or even maybe through the draft. Because at that end of season meeting, Dan Campbell said something that was really interesting that I kind of hung on, and we'll see if it kind of rears its head during this free agency. He said that they're going to have to make some tough decisions, even with guys that they really like. And Reynolds is one of those guys that they really like. So it could be a thing where I believe if there's not an upgrade out there that they can bring in, I could see him coming back, but I could also see it being a guy where it's like, hey, you never know. Might better move on.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kory. Especially speaking of, at least we're talking re-signing guys, but on the conversation of extensions, Jared Goff, St. Brown, Penei Sewell, I think the resume speaks for itself there. If I had to ask you, Kory, over under 2.5, if you have Goff, St. Brown, Penei, over under 2.5 on how many of these deals get done this season or this offseason. You think all three, or you think at least one of those guys? Because that's the big conversation. I've seen people talking, if they don't get these deals done, there'll be a little bit of worry, and they're all going to get paid. But what say you?
He said under 2.5.
Yeah, you think all three get their deal done?
Not all three.
Okay.
I think St. Brown and St. Brown and Sewell get their deals done. I don't think Goff does.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, wow.
Why do you say that? What makes you say that? I've never heard that yet, so that's interesting.
First off, look at St. Brown's production from year to year to year. It's been nothing but steady progression to the fact that if he's not mentioned as one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league next year, what are we doing here? You do not. I mean, you pay St. Brown now before you have to pay him even more moving forward. And you don't want to. And the thing is, you don't want to camp hold out. Give him his money. This guy has definitely proved it. This is a guy that chip on his shoulder is real. After every practice, he's on that jugs machine. Khalif Raymond is a lot of times he's there with them, but this is a guy that you cannot lose. He is not only a team leader by how he speaks, but team leader on example of how he plays on the field. You don't want to lose a guy like that. Penei Sewell, I mean,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do we have to go with?
outfit.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean,
Just get it done.
we need
Blank
this.
check.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Jared Goff, it's not that Jared Goff does not deserve his money. It's just that you have everything else in place. Depends on how Hendon Hooker looks in this upcoming training camp. They really do like him. And you got to remember, if Hooker did not get injured in college, he would not have been there when the Lions selected him. So
Right.
there's that. If this guy comes back healthy, you might be looking at an interesting situation. And again, it's not no knock on Jared Goff, not to say that he doesn't deserve his money. But again, this is also a position that if Hooker is well, or maybe if the Lions make some kind of move, maybe that is a position you can upgrade or move on from, and maybe get somebody else to come in there and take the spot without everyone have to give Goff all of that money. Kind of like, I guess maybe this may not be the greatest example, but when the Seattle Seahawks decided to move on from Russell Wilson to turn the reins over to Geno Smith. I mean, Geno's been doing a heck of a good job, all things considered. So you never know. But I think St. Brown, Sewell, got to get him done. Goff, I mean, let's see what happens.
Oh, okay.
I like
that.
I like it. It's interesting. Hey, Kory, too. I think one of the biggest things too this offseason, the storyline so far, Ben Johnson, AG both returning for next season. I think that was huge. I mean, a couple months ago, I thought both of them were gone and getting head coaching positions. Now they're both coming back. How big of a deal do you think that is for this Lions team? Especially to me, I think on this defense, getting AG back for another year, and now he's probably going to get some players to kind of not develop, but some more big time pieces on that defense. How big and a big of a step forward do you think that defense takes with AG?
I think both of those guys coming back is very big because, one, again, continuity. You do not want to mess up continuity if you do not have to. I think Ben Johnson coming back is going to be. I gotta be careful how I say this. I think how. I think Ben Johnson coming back could be something like a revenge tour. I'm just going to go ahead and say it because it's unfinished business. It's right at the door. It wasn't his best game that he caught in that NFC Championship. There were a lot of question marks. I believe that they ran, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they ran the ball like around 7 times in that second half.
Oh, it was bad.
It was bad. So I think that he wants to come back and correct that. Then, maybe after they leave, then you can possibly go on to a coaching job or not. But I think he's going to come. I think him coming back is very important, not only for the offense, but for not only just for Jared Goff, but for St. Brown, for Sam Laporta, for David Montgomery. Those guys were able to take another step moving forward. For Aaron Glenn, I think Aaron Glenn gets a bad rap. I think that you have to look at the injuries that secondary has suffered, which is why they had a lot of the problems they did. You have to look at the fact that the Josh Pascal thing is kind of hit or miss sometimes. He hasn't really been there the way that they expected him to be playing opposite Aiden. So I think if you be able to give Aaron Glenn some more pieces to work with, he's able to go ahead and have his secondary healthy for most of the season, which he did not have this year. Then you'll be able to see, I believe, that true AG stamp on his defense come out. Get him some pieces and keep these guys healthy.
No, I agree with you. We're going to see a lot of changes on the defense, but I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the NFC North as well, Kory. You talk about Kirk Cousins possibly leaving Minnesota. Looks like that's going to happen. Caleb Williams possibly going to Chicago, and then just the emergence of the Packers. Which team outside of the Detroit Lions in the NFC North do you think has a chance to contend to really push for a high seed in the NFC playoffs coming next year?
Packers.
What's the threat level, Kory? What's the threat level?
I don't know. I have no idea how they've done this for 30 straight years. Just get the quarterback correct. I think the threat level to not go too far, I would say the threat level, if you're getting like the 10 is the highest,
yeah,
I would say threat level right now is at a 7.
Okay.
It's at a 7. It's at a 7. Jordan Love showed over that back end of the season that he can ball. And I mean, he's one mistake away from it being a Lions home game possibly for the NFC Championship. So, I mean, this guy is only going to learn from his mistakes and get even better. He's shown that he's not – who knows? He may not be Brett Favre. He may not be Aaron Rodgers. But guess what? To be successful in the NFL, you don't have to beat those guys. Those guys are revered as they are for a reason. All he has to be is just good. And Jordan Love has shown that he is good. He can get outside the pocket when he needs to. He throws a pretty accurate, nasty ball. I mean, the threat level for the Lions, they have to worry about that guy. And also see what the Packers are going to do with their defense as well. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Jair Alexander, if they're going to be able to bring him back or not, but they're still going to be solid no matter what. But Packers, yeah.
All right, Kory, obviously we got the NFL draft coming up. The Lions do have some positions to fill. What is the biggest position of need in your eyes going into the draft?
Do you really want to hear that one? Because nobody is going to agree with me, and I'm prepared for it because I got my notes already set to the side.
Okay.
Kicker.
Oh. Okay.
Where do you think they should approach it in the draft? What round?
So last year, the San Francisco 49ers got Jake Moody at number 99. Lions have 2 picks in the 3rd round. They have a pick at us at number 92. That is where I believe they should go ahead and go draft their kicker for moving forward. I know they re-signed Badgley, but look, here's the thing that you have to think about. The Lions are, for all practical purposes, they could add more depth on their offense at all positions. But they need a kicker. Michael Badgley, this guy was on the practice squad for most of the season for a reason. Mm-hmm. Last year, you saw the 49ers take Jake Moody at number 99. And look, he missed some kicks throughout the year. It's a rookie. It's okay. But you also seen him make some big kicks for them as well. The Lions did not, outside of the kick he made at AT&T Stadium and the one he made at Ford Field against the Rams, Michael Badgley has not kicked well beyond 50 yards in games. It's inside of domes, yeah. Outside of that, no. So I think at number 92, they should go ahead and draft their kicker for the future. I think they just brought back Badgley just for an insurance policy. I got a couple of guys that I was already talking about in October when they had this kicker issue because I saw it coming. If you look up top kickers to watch on an MLive article, I already predicted this scenario.
Boots on the ground.
And the kickers. I already predicted this scenario. Here are 3 guys that I think they should look at number 92. Joshua Cardi out of Stanford. From this season, from 0 to 39, he was 12 for 13. On 50-plus yard kicks, he was 4 for 7 with a long of 56. Last year, he nailed a 61-yarder, so the guy has a big leg. Another one is Cam Little out of Arkansas, 20 for 24 this season, 9 for 12 on kicks between 40 to 50-plus yards, nailed a 56-yarder, which is his career long, and he nailed all 33 of his extra point attempts this season. Those are 2 guys that I will probably get at number 92 or 92 if available. But if they go in the later rounds and decide to get a guy that you want to take a chance on, maybe around in that fifth round or later, see if Harrison Mevis is out there from Missouri. He has some struggles a little bit between 40 to 59 yards this year, but he's 3 of 5 from kicks from 50 yards out. Also nailed a 61-yarder as well. I think they need to go ahead and go grab that kicker for the future and groom him.
Kory, real quick, Jeff, before you go, Kory, I'm with you on that. I've said that on here a couple of times, that kicker is a position of need. I don't get 5th round. The Missouri kid, Lucas brought him up to me. The Alabama kicker, I'm in on getting the kicker. Look at
not in the third. That's
maybe not in the third, but
that's where I get lost.
Hey,
the 49ers, the Chiefs, these guys have kickers, man. You need a kicker.
I mean, that's why I said the 49ers, they got their guy in the 3rd round. I said if you're gonna reach, go to get a kicker. Those are the 2 I would get. But if you want to go in the 5th round to get a guy, I would say get Harrison. But getting a kicker has to be one of their biggest things because they did not trust Michael Badgley, and it was shown. This guy was cut before training camp, he went to the Washington Commanders for I believe he went to the Washington Commanders. He went to the back to Tennessee Titans, and then he came back to this team and stayed on the practice squad until December 16th. There is a reason that they need to go ahead and improve at kicker. So, I mean, I think if they go ahead and prioritize kicking, you can go ahead and not be Dan Gamble all of the time. Some of the time they were Dan Gamble because it just appeared. They have to come out and say it themselves. I don't want to speak for them, but it just appeared they did not trust Michael Badgley.
Mike, you got a follow up? You want to
Oh
ask?
no, I was just going to ask kind of a little bit of what you just said. Obviously, Dan Campbell, we've seen his aggressive ways. Do you think if they finally get that kicker, does he change his ways up? Do you see them taking more field goals, or do you still think he's going to stick to that strategy of going for it a lot?
Especially with higher expectations, Kory. Much higher expectations.
I think that he's still going to be Dan Gamble when appropriate, but I also think he's going to play the odds better where they will just go ahead and take the field goal. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. They kicked field goals when they were in Michael Badgley's range. But when they had to step out to like that 40 plus, that's when you start to see them really gamble a lot. So I think that they gambled just because Dan Campbell's a gambler and because out of necessity. Do you want to go ahead and put a guy out there that you have not trusted in those situations all year, or do you want to stick with your gut and keep going what you've been doing in gambling?
Yeah. I think you nailed it, Kory. I want to say thank you. I know we kept you a little longer, so I appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Shout out.
You can check Kory out on all social media at Kory E. Woods. He covers the Pistons, and the Lions, two drastically different franchises right now for MLive. You can check out all his work at MLive.com. Kory, we got to have you on again, man. We appreciate you, man. Much love to you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
All right, there you go. Kory Woods, man, the one, the only. He nailed that. And honestly, this is why I say this a lot, guys. I say it after every guest. Some more things we don't really talk about. I know the kicker in the third round, you didn't like it, Lucas, but I'm talking about the Jared Goff extension, though. Like
the Jared Goff one, that's a big one.